today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
What were you trying to give Valentina?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing? Do you think that I'm stupid or what? What's that slutty niece of yours doing in that woman's house?
If you're referring to Miss Dantes, I have nothing to explain to you, Antonia.
What I'm feeling for you is what a man feels when he's falling in love. I know it because it happened to me once. Yes, and today, I started to feel it again.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Success is what I am determined to achieve today. I have all it takes and I am ready to make sure that by night time I will have achieved my victory. Welcome to Morning at NTV, power pack to make sure that today is going to be one of the greatest days of your life. If you've already started Fit and Fab, thank you so much for also getting updated with our Kaunges, the repeat, the press review, everyday life, the big story, all coming up this morning. Let's get into your question of the day. There you go. In which year and month was Uhuru Kenyatta sworn in? Help us answer those questions. Feel free. You'll get us something from NTV. Our platforms are open. Facebook is Morning at NTV. You can also tweet it at Morning at NTV. You can feel free to send the text to 6565. And of course, follow us at MB Gold 2, at Joel Senyunya, at Mebkeb, at Kasiate, and at Dakabachigongo. Don't forget to tag at NTV Uganda. Mabel is standing by with the stories that are making headlines and later the press review. Good morning.
Good morning, Bran, and good morning to you who has tuned in this Thursday morning. We do hope you are keeping well. Now on to the stories that are making headlines this morning. Hundreds consumed in an inferno, and the police are under fire over a crackdown on opposition meetings, and the parliament has summoned the East African Legislative Assembly.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
On March 17, 2000, hundreds who were part of a cult located in the deeper recesses of southwestern Uganda were consumed in an inferno. In the aftermath, a number of conspiracies emerged after it was suggested that the ringleaders, including Joseph Chiwetere, Father Dominic Kataribabo, and Credonia Mwerinde, fled. The Inspector General of Police's revelations have fueled more speculation after saying there are reports Chiwetere and his accomplices fled to Malawi.
More than 14 years after apocalyptic fire consumed a church in the deeper recesses of western Uganda, killing hundreds of believers, police has tabled a report into the findings of the Kanungu massacre. On March 17, 2000, believers of the movement of the restoration of the Ten Commandments cult were told they were going to heaven, only to be incinerated in the church dosed by petrol. It's not clear yet whether the ringleaders Joseph Chiwetere, Father Dominic Kataribaho, and Sister Credonia Mwerinde perished in the fire or fled. The police report indicates that a total of 700 bodies were recovered.
336 bodies recovered at the scene, samples recovered, and further searches were conducted in other scenes. This was the main scene. And the total of the bodies recovered were 780. International arrest warrants were issued.
The Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kayihura, told lawmakers on the Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs that police and Interpol have since then failed to track the whereabouts of Joseph Chiwetere and other leaders who were believed to have escaped to the Malawi through Tanzania.
Effort was made to trace some of the cult leaders in Mwanza, Tanzania, in 2000, that was 2000, but there was no, it was not productive. Others were tried to trace Western Kenya, following leads. These were leads which they were following. Again, in 2000, there was no success. Information was then received that Joseph Chiwetere and Credonia Mwerinde were in Malawi, which were not, the police was not able to get, to be more specific.
The MPs demanded to know whether DNA tests were ever carried out on the bodies of those who perished and the relatives of the leaders of the cult to establish whether Chiwetere and his acolytes died in the inferno.
That's what we know, people from there, is that these people died in the fire. I've already done DNA to confirm that, because that's the lead. The brothers of Kataribabo, the brothers of Kasapuri, and so on, they confirmed that they did commit suicide.
General Kayihura, together with the deputy CIID boss, Geoffrey Musana, promised to reappear before the committee to discuss the report further. Before the report was released, relatives of the deceased had appealed to government to shed more light on one of the world's biggest cult massacre. Jingo Francis, NTV, Parliament.
The police have come under fire in the House over the recent crackdown of opposition meetings to agitate for electoral reforms across the countryside. During the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee, the Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kayihura, tried to defend the image of what lawmakers called a tainted institution.
He could be a decorated four-star military general. However, when General Kale Kayihura walked into the precincts of the August House, all the glamour that comes with such a high-profile placement seemed to dissipate.
NRM leaders described as a general tear gas.
In a highly charged Defense and Internal Affairs Committee meeting, Kayihura, who heads the police force, came under criticism, especially by opposition lawmakers.
Kale Kayihura, you're a policeman. Please be in charge, don't become a cadre, as the president said one time, that you are the best cadre. Leave politics alone. If you want to join politics, 2016 is coming. Remove that attire.
I can't do this. This comes on the heels of a recent police crackdown on the opposition and the civil society, who have been traversing the countryside to push for electoral reforms ahead of the 2016 polls.
Sit down, get your prayers and your rosary, and pray for yourself about that. If it's not a otherwise you are in trouble.
However, Kayihura came to the defense of the police.
We shall argue out this. Really, I want to show you this. Well, unfortunately, as I say, the cause of it was not respecting the act.
Barely a week after this fracas unfolded, MPs questioned why the police force resorted to coercive tactics to block a peaceful gathering of the opposition in Bale, Soroti, Kabale and Kasese. The MPs also questioned the arrest of NRM young turks who are supporters of troubled Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi barely after his wife accused Kaihura of using riffraff security officers in a smear campaign.
We are investigating where the IGP of Uganda is broadly accused for now taking not only partisan politics, but even going into the intra-political intricacies of a given party.
Some NRM group going around giving money. I'm not harassing anybody, whether as an individual or as police, unless there is a suggestion here that NRM youth are above the law.
But at the same time, you have had a whole prime minister complaining. A whole prime minister is a lawyer, is a leader of government business, is secretary general of that party, pleading with the general tear gas.
Omodomodo, who is a national vice chairperson of NRM Youth League in northern Uganda, alongside Adam Buyinza Luzindana, were arrested and charged with bribing NRM mobilizers into signing a petition to convene a delegates conference to challenge the caucus resolutions in Chankwanzi.
There were some strange people moving in the area of Rubaga division at night. They were moving, and they wondered, what are these people moving about?
The Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department boss, Grace Akulo, revealed that the state was the complainant.
Inquiry file open on intelligence, and that is what is on record. Open on intelligence.
Intelligence is the complainant.
It is a general inquiry open on intelligence and the cases.
Procedure.
Swear that the evidence I shall give.
With her answer eliciting doubt, Akulo was then asked to take oath. The police boss was further asked to explain the presence of heavy security deployment at the home of former FDC president, Dr. Kiza Besigye.
Whether Dr. Besigye is a free man by even curtailing his movement at his gate. I went there last week, Madam Chair.
Dr. Besigye is a free man.
However, he shocked committee members when he said he had no idea that police was deployed at Besigye's home.
So, is the daughter home?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware that there are police officers around at his house.
Information, Madam Chairperson.
They may be nearby. Madam Chairperson. They may be nearby.
Madam, this is my land. I know you arrest this man. I know those stories. Take him.
Sheila Nduchire, NTV.
Very interesting there. Well, still with Parliament, the Uganda Parliament has summoned all East African Legislative Assembly members for a crisis meeting next week as the number of those baying for the blood of the Regional Assembly Speaker, Margaret Ziwa, continues to grow. As Ziwa continues to walk a tightrope, the Arusha-based Parliament has been sent on recess till May, at the time lawmakers from across the region were planning to move a motion of censure against her.
The notice to move a motion to censure the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, Margaret Ziwa Nantongo, is unprecedented. This comes at the time the occupant of the coveted seat at the Regional Assembly comes from Uganda. However, as the lawmakers were planning to move a vote of censure against her next week, Ziwa sent the Regional Assembly on a recess till next week. Lawmakers across the 5 states accuse Ziwa of incompetence, and some allege that her husband Francis Babu plays the role of a puppet master. With those baying for the blood of Ziwa and relating, the Uganda National Assembly has called for a crisis meeting to resolve this matter. It also comes at a time Ziwa is engaging shattered diplomacy and is reportedly in Nairobi. The State Minister for the East African Affairs, Shemba Gaine, who was expected to appear before Parliament, did not turn up.
Minister in charge of this sector to come and inform the country of what is happening, because Ugandans want to know what is happening to us at this time.
Kasule Lumumba, who is also the government chief whip, said the crisis at Arusha has tainted the image of the country. She accused lawmakers from Uganda of orchestrating Ziwa's downfall.
You are accountable to us. Come and tell us what is happening, and then we put our heads together as a team under the leadership of President Yoweri Museveni to make sure that we save Uganda, whatever bad face, whatever bad occasion that can happen.
During the 2011 acrimonious polls, Ziwa shrugged off the underdog tag to be elected speaker. But the embarrassing spat between one of the contestants and then the East African Community Affairs Minister, the late Eria Kategara, during the elections would only serve as a hamburger of what would unfold in the future. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
That's a very important.
Police in Mombasa have launched investigations into the killing of fiery Muslim activist Sheikh Abubakar Sharif. Unknown assailants killed Sharif alias Mukaburi as he walked out of Shanzu Law Court on Tuesday evening. Enoch Sikolia reports from Mombasa that Muslim leaders are urging the government to ensure the murder is investigated and a report made public.
Tuesday evening moments after controversial Muslim cleric Sheikh Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi was gunned down outside Shanzu Law Court. And on Wednesday, heavy security presence around Shuhada Mosque, formerly Masjid Musa in Majengo. The government says the motive of Makaburi's killing is unknown, but police are investigating.
It's a criminal act. And the investigation ilianza immediately jana. So nobody should come up and start to misinterpret it, to incite youth, to throw stones, to burn buildings.
Makaburi was killed alongside Hadif Bahero almost at sunset, shortly after stepping outside the court premises while they went to attend hearing of a case involving 29 youth arrested during a police raid on Masjid Musa last month. Sheikh Abubakar Sharif was buried late in the night, 6 hours after he died. Muslim leaders want the government to get to the bottom of the killing.
Wasema ni kitendo cha ugaidi, tunataka task force commission ifanywe ya haraka, itoe ripoti kwa haraka, na ripoti ambayo itapawa wananchi waisome na waweze kuifahamu ni nani au ni kina nani au ni jambo gani lilitokea hata kitendo hicho cha ugaidi kikaweza kutokea eneo hilo hapo jana.
Sisi hili unajua tutembea hivi, tuenda hivi, sasa kusikia kila mmoja amelala. Hatukuona nani wala hatukuona zimetoka kwa upande huu wa barabara, lakini hatujui nani wala hatukuona hiyo gari wala.
Je, umeona gari rangi gani ilikuwa?
Nakwambia hapo wewe, sisi hata sijui nikwambie vipi.
Human rights groups are questioning the timing and the manner in which Makaburi met his death.
Ile orodha ya wale walikuwa wamelengwa, jina la Abu Makaburi lilikuwa la kwanza. Na pia katika ile orodha baadhi ya yale majina aliyakumbuka na alitupa. Kulikuwa na majina mengine ambayo ni ya watu wameuliwa tayari.
The killing of the controversial Muslim cleric Sheikh Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi has elicited sharp reactions here in Mombasa County. Now, Muslim leaders here want the government to do a thorough investigation into the killing of Makaburi. Enoch Sikolia, NTV, in the county of Mombasa.
And that's all we had for you from the news desk here at the studio. We now go over to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to see what's making news in the headlines.
A wonderful Thursday morning, the 3rd day of April 2014. We are waking up to a bright sunny morning in Kampala, and from wherever you're catching us across the country. It's a great morning and good morning from us who are here to present to you the morning review of the papers at Morning on NTV. My name is Simon Kasiate. I am with the boys, Brian and Joel. Good morning, good people.
Good morning. You forgot this morning to say that it's a slightly overcast shadow. And,
well, it isn't from where we are seated, and that word only describes the weather. We're looking at today's Daily Monitor. We're waking up to an interesting headline, but even more interesting, like they say in journalism, a picture speaks 1,000 words or even more. What do we have on the front page of the Daily Monitor? We've got 3 pictures of the same face speaking over 3,000 words. Who are we talking about here? Inspector General of Police General Kale Kaihura facing parliamentarians yesterday, answering some questions to which he answered that the pro-Mbabazi youth are like terrorists. Now let's not forget that Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi also doubles as the Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, had a group of his supporters within the party, youth members of the party, arrested and arraigned before courts of law and charged for abuse of office, remanded to Rizela prison, and only yesterday did they get bail after paying a 5 million shillings cash bounty on their heads. But Inspector General of Police says, from his impeccable sources from vigilante groups, these characters are nothing short of terrorists.
I can't believe Kaihura would say that. Then what would he call the CJ people?
There is terrorists in capital letters, terrorists in bold letters, terrorists in italics.
So is this in italics? And then there are I don't understand what he means when he says they are terrorists.
No, but I'm sure you're beginning to see the trend of politics in this country where at any one time nobody is safe from accusations or allegations. In 2005, right in the middle of my career as a journalist, when the country woke up to the fact that Dr. Kizza Besigye was facing treason, rape, and all sorts of crimes.
And you notice he was absolved from all of those.
No, yeah, but then when the country woke up to this, then we all said, wait a minute. You mean somebody who's served as a political commissar, who's worked as a personal friend to the president, who's acted as a personal physician, can so many years down the road find themselves in the dock, face the most embarrassing crimes like rape? I mean, you remember the rape trial, right? Quite macabre. So now here we see Mbabazi also going that direction. His supporters in the youth side being related to terrorists. There was a headline by one of the newspapers, I want to believe it was the Red Pepper some days ago, that says Mbabazi risks facing murder charges.
Certainly.
And you see, some years back, there was a brigand, so you could call them, or someone who jumped over his fence in his plush residence in Kololo and was shot dead by his guards. But we see this case resurrecting now, and Mbabazi on the brink of facing murder charges over the death of this guy.
And there will be many more that are going to be unearthed, because you see along the way,
before you know it, there will be some girl who will wake up and claim that Mbabazi tiptoed.
They've made a couple of mistakes along the way, which they've been shielded from, over time. But now when they begin to fall out with the powers that be, without a doubt, they're going to keep coming out, and they will be hounded for them.
But why wouldn't he?
They are not permanent friends. Somebody once said.
And there are 1,000 words. If you look at page 5 of the Daily Monitor this morning, there's a picture of these Mbabazi youth. One of them, these terrorists, Adam Muzinda Birunja.
I see them with an opposition young politician.
Yeah, but you see, I see them flashing V and thumbs up. I mean, this is.
Could it be a victory sign?
No, well, it is a confusion of royalties here. We've got some flashing, like Luzinda here, flashing the thumbs up of the NRM. But you see some of their ardent supporters and close quarter friends as
the middle guy you see is that
a provocation of the NRM?
I mean,
Luzinda is obviously putting thumbs up because he is a major,
you can read a lot from this picture. If you are seen as a serious leader within the NRM ranks, and this is the day when you are receiving bail from a court of law, and those who are out to wish you well and support you and show you some moral support come flashing the V side. What does that say to political commentators on the sidelines?
Yeah, and what does it say when your party is turning you the wrong side up, calling you a terrorist as it were, and all these things? They're probably trying to say, look, if we are to go down, we'll go down kicking and screaming.
Well, I guess we'll complete the talk on Mbabazi, because the Red Paper also says Museveni puts Mbabazi on Katebe, and for a long time he has plucked off so many feathers from the Prime Minister, reducing him to a dressed chicken.
What?
There we go. Well, for those of you who are interestingly in need of financial solutions from commercial banks, here's some good news for you. The central bank is maintaining its lending rate at 11.5, meaning that, that lending rate that you may get from your preferred commercial bank may not be bad after all. But I must say, from my little rudimentary economics, if you are going to take a loan, better take it now and service it for not more than 1 year and a half. Because when it comes to 2015 and the political goings-on go on, you may find this lending rate going up, because we know, at least from the last election, that towards the election, after the election, we get a very huge backlash with regard to inflation.
Yeah, because we raid the reserves, we goof up our economy, use money in very odd ways.
I didn't. I only want folks.
I think the only people that are really secure, who have the assurance that their lending rate will be very low, are those that work for banks, and banks guarantee their staff at a very
low rate, 4%, 3%.
Coming from you, we believe you 100%, Brian.
But you see, as the central bank says it's maintaining the lending rate at 11.5%, you should know that many times commercial banks actually do not go by this. Central bank will make noise, keep it at that, but at the end of the day, they do things differently.
Are we saying that the central bank, as a regulator of commercial banking institutions in this country, is a lame duck of sorts, that they speak one language and the commercial banks just run roughshod over them without any due regard?
Well, we've had Professor Mutebile time and again saying, I have capacity to burn your fingers. We are yet to see him do that.
Never banned.
Well, I am sure those who had their accounts in Greenland Bank and others and the
come on,
that's
donkeys years ago, and that story had a lot more than met the eye. We did hear political undertones to it, etc., etc. But the status quo as it is now, many times we just see the central bank coming out to back. We've not seen much action really. We are yet to.
There we are, the central bank being dared here on Morning at NTV. Storm ravages Butaleja,
should have a leaving
150 homeless and 30 hospitalized. And let's not forget, this is as a result of the new wave of rains that this country is receiving. Our hearts go out to these heavily ravaged people. Coming in from...
something interesting here on page 4. No money for MPs' pay rise. This is coming from the Ministry of Finance. They are saying what the Parliamentary Commission is fronting is a wish list. It is something that's being put on the wish list. It's not in any way part of government priorities. So the MPs might have to wait a little longer before this comes through for them.
I think for once, let's pat government on the back if they're not just playing for the gallery, because they say government has said the proposal to increase MP salaries is impossible, and advise those pushing for the idea to drop it because there is no money for non-priorities. I'm glad.
Yeah, but what are the priorities? So there's money to give pajeros and all these things to religious leaders. There's money to give envelopes to folks.
And those already in the budget, Senyonyi.
Oh, come on. We keep seeing a supplementary again and again.
It's part of the pledges, right? The president's pledges.
The 11.8 trillion that are yet to be
related to money, and it's very sad. The red paper. We've seen this picture making rounds on social media.
That one
who was using the iPad to play solitaire during a committee session. And it's annoying. A Kenyan friend tweeted me and said, look at what your defense minister is doing during a meeting. I'm like, that's not our defense minister, obviously.
It's Honorable Atwib Katoto. And if you know Honorable Atwib Katoto, and I'm sorry I have to use the word honorable because perhaps it's just one of those.
It's not as honorable as you're saying.
If you know him, I would have expected worse from him. I'm glad that at least one, he is able to use an iPad, he can switch it on, and at least that he can even go ahead and play. You know, a game like solitaire, which requires you to use a bit of your mental faculties. For the most part, I expected worse.
Well, you have really divided the man, eh?
No, it's just about knowing someone and being candid about it. It's about being.
I wish we knew what you know, but from the looks of it, this is wrong. This is very disturbing. There's a young lady that was, but the way some people think. For me, if I was in Parliament, why would I need an iPad? I use always. I looked at her and I said, okay.
Where the same parliament is investigating the plot to oust the East African Legislative Assembly Speaker, who for the most part seems to have survived the axe as has been mooted by members of her own parliament. The world is waking up to day 2 of the EU-African Summit in Belgium, where we are seeing a strong discussion going on between people that prefer to call themselves eco-partners. And indeed, it's coming out here very strongly that the EU is having these negotiations with African countries and regarding them as eco-partners, as opposed to the other colonial.
Yeah, they say that verbally. I don't know whether they believe it and implement it anyway.
Well, let's not forget that this particular summit is one that has caused some bit of a little controversy, and you can bet where the controversy is coming from. Our good friend Robert Mugabe, whose wife was denied a visa, just got him to the Belgian capital Brussels for this meeting. And guess what happened? President Jacob Zuma of South Africa did show solidarity and declined to attend this EU-African summit. But let's not forget that President Museveni is in there to look these members of the European Union in the face and perhaps remind them that we are eco-partners, and so my signing of the anti-homosexuality bill must be treated as such. A sovereign matter.
Mzee Wakazi, Mugabe the other day was being asked by Christian Amanpour of CNN that, look, you are 90 now. Is that not a good time to rest and retire? And this man, in a very epic way, responded by saying, look, is that question only for African leaders? How come you've never asked the Queen of England? And I was thinking, Mugabe, you should know better than that. The other one is the monarch. You're not. But anyhow, on page 7 here, I find something interesting. Smoking in open places to be criminalized. I see my good friend, Honorable David Bahati here. I suppose that's what you're going to be talking about. I hope shisha smoking is going to be taken care of. There's been a huge debate, you know, in the media, social media, etc., etc.
Yeah, but you know, the same country has laws against illicit brewing, and for all I know that this market is proliferated by the presence of illicit distillates and you call them warages and brews. So, I mean, we know that for a fact we have so many laws on our law books, both in the Penal Code and the Constitution. The extent to which we are able to actuate these laws and enforce them still remains to be seen. We see the police more vigilant in cracking down political agitators, pro-somebody, youth now regarded as terrorists. So those who smoke are clearly doing it with a kind of brazen arrogance, knowing that the police does not have them cleared when they are ready.
The idea that all these things should be increased, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes, that it will control the number of people smoking it. If I need something, for example, if I want to drive a Benz, I will save that money for as long as it takes for me to drive it, or I'll steal it. And so, you know, we're here the other day with the doctor, and he's saying how tobacco is increasing the number of cancer patients. Yes, that's true. But the number of people consuming cigarettes will never reduce just because...
Well, of course, it's a little prohibitive, but you see, at the end of the day, we also need to see the non-smokers protected. For those of us...
I think but how many times do you see someone smoking when you're out in public?
But I think a couple of times, even at hotels like this one, there should be places...
absolutely. I do agree with you, and I think for those of you who are non-smokers must realize that smoke is not only created by the burning of cigarette. We've got, for the most part... Yeah, I mean, I have indulged in smoking, and I am not apologetic towards that. It was a personal choice made at the age of 18 and above. But I will tell you very candidly that for the most part, when we are driving on these Kampala roads and across the country, we've got cars emitting the most heinous of fumes here. And I think that I as now a reformed smoker, suffer more the danger of car fumes on the road that are not roadworthy on the road. I think we should take this a little bit further. You've got cars that have not been serviced, cars that are 50 years old, pounding the Kampala streets or the country's streets, exposing Ugandans insufferable consequences of carbon monoxide from these cars. So to these anti-cigarette smoking advocates, do they not see cars emitting these fumes? Don't they think that they need to appeal to the Ministry of Transport to ensure that there is proper inspection of cars and ensuring that these cars conform to the international standards, like it is with the UK, where you must pass an MOT test for you to be able to be on the road? Right. If we do not look at that, it's just like covering our heads in the sand, because of course they're only agitating on the basis of funds coming in from those who are financing. It's always
implementation. Well, that right would be good to go.
The EU and Africa. In Uganda, there is an interesting discussion going on between the European Union delegation and the government of Uganda with regard to the ramifications of passing the anti-homosexuality bill. Let's not forget that at the beginning of the week, we saw the European Union ambassador to Uganda, Ambassador Christian Schmidt, coming out strongly and saying he will rein onto his part of the 11 EU member states in this country and ask them to go slow with regard to those threats of cutting aid, saying that they should in fact get into dialogue with government. And today in the commentary part of the Daily Monitor, the Monitor comes out with a huge editorial saying EU government meeting is commendable. We are looking at an interesting trend where the European Union, rather than stand on a high moral horse and dictating terms to Uganda, coming down and treating Uganda as an equal partner for a discussion. How far this can go is only a matter of time.
They should. We've told them again and again to give us a break. If they want to trade with us, it should not be on unequal terms. Saudi Arabia, for example, has some of the worst laws, or the hardest hitting laws on homosexuality, or anti-homosexuality for that matter. But they trade with them, they deal with them, you know, at an equal level. Why don't they treat us the same way?
And I said this a couple of weeks ago on this show, when the anti-homosexuality bill had just been signed, and I told you guys, this is a bluff. You cannot tell us you're not going to support us. Okay, you keep your aid, and then days later they say, okay, now we are going to send you some money and some more choppers and some more men to help you. And now later
it is in the new vision here that the United States of America, it's in the Daily Monitor this morning here that the United States of America has sent more troops to hunt down Joseph Kony, at the same time denying, as we saw yesterday in yesterday's Observer newspaper, denying a top police officer a visa to go and attend an FBI-sponsored course. So clearly it's a matter of...
These guys that come around 2002, that would be good. But you see, something I find a little bit disturbing here, they say that US officials say their personnel are not to engage the LRA directly, except in self-defense. So you're going to hunt down a man, but you're not to engage him directly. I am finding that a little bit flummoxing. I don't know about you people.
Well, that possibly would pass for an understatement. I mean, it's always the semantics that go on with these diplomatic relations.
Something also about the, you know, America this morning. I was watching CNN and a soldier just went on rampage, shot people, and it reminded me of the Bombo attack too, when a soldier just went out to a village and shot people. Obviously, the use of guns in the whole world is very, you know.
And talking about guns and gunmen, here in Heart to Heart in the Daily Monitor, they have, you know, stories talking about soldiers who have killed in the name of love.
Well, the same magazine, we are talking about the interesting phenomena that we all love to hear about, and that is cohabitation. The question in the morning is it bad for you or is it good for you?
Have you ever cohabited?
$1 million question that will only be answered another day, because we've got to bring a cap to this discussion. But before we do that, there was an interesting match last evening. You are the sports guy. Some people would love to know what happened between Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea.
Well, of course, Mourinho eating his words.
Look at the guy eating his words.
Well,
I enjoyed Real Madrid.
Goes down, so Paris Saint-Germain reigned over them, and it was quite an embarrassing moment for English football side Chelsea.
It's the first time he has lost like 2 consecutive games, so it was really hard for him. But we'll talk more with Isma later in the show.
That caps it for our press review this morning. Let's take a short break. When we return, we're still going over and over the huge ramifications that this country is poised to get as a result of signing the anti-homosexuality bill. But we'll also be delving into matters of the NRM caucus in Parliament, as well as this mooted idea of increasing MP salaries. And maybe we'll also ask what exactly the iPads are used for, playing solitaire or doing some serious research. Stay with us. I have an interesting member of Parliament coming to discuss with us on the big story this morning.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mind.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
Beautiful girls all looking for love, and we guarantee that each one of them will go out on a date. But will it work out? Only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and The Bachelor has to be screened by all these ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love was hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rule. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must-watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anissa Fabiola, and I'll be your host.
To find a date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date. Dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for their NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admire the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fascistic code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Welcome back, reminding you that you can be a part of the show by following us on Twitter. And Simon did promise last week that the first 5 tweets sent in for people wanting a trip to Jinja to look at the dams will get it. So do continue sending your tweets, and we shall be in touch with you regarding that trip to Jinja. We now return to Simon for today's big story.
Not long ago, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni signed into law a bill that toughens penalties against gay people and defines some homosexual acts as crimes punishable by life in prison. Let us forget that the anti-homosexuality law came onto the floor of Parliament as a private member's bill presented by Indora West Member of Parliament, David Bahati, who in his argument say that the bill was to strengthen the nation's capacity to deal with emerging internal and external threats to the traditional heterosexual family. Now, who is David Bahati here? We know that he's a member of Parliament for the constituency of Indora West and is the member of the National Resistance Movement. Matter of fact, he's also the spokesperson of the NRM caucus in Parliament. Bahati came into the international attention in October 2009 after introducing this anti-homosexuality bill as a private member's bill on the 13th day of October, proposing that a new offense be created in Uganda named aggravated homosexuality, which should be punishable as a capital offense. Long and short, this that started off as a private member's bill is now law, and Uganda is reaping what it sowed, so to speak. Ramifications coming in one after another, and the deepest being threats and even actualization of these threats by some of our development partners, cutting aid, reducing on our cooperation, and of course squeezing us in a box, threatening further complication of our relations. This morning on The Big Story, we bring the man himself, Honorable David Bahati, and ask him whether, looking back, he does regret sinking the country to where it is at the moment, or is he more than ever resolved? We also understand that he, for the most part, in the next 20 years, will never step on the soils of some of these Western countries. Is he afraid? Is he bothered? Does he feel like he did the right thing? Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Let's start from there.
Yes.
There will be some countries in the world that you will not be able to visit, if especially your name is David Bahati. Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't. Given the choice between the future of our children, the future of the institution of family, and my traveling in different countries, I prefer to take the future of our children and the institution of marriage.
David, is the traditional heterosexual Ugandan family so much at threat that you had to come up with this kind of law that now is having huge ripple effects on the way Ugandans are able to survive with regard to development cooperation, which has kept us on a lifeline for a long time?
Well, I think it's important to note that Uganda at the moment finances its budget by 82%. So we have a deficit of close to 18%.
Yes.
And we need to revise the way we are doing things. And I think the whole situation here, what we are learning is that actually we need to work hard to protect the independence of our country and the sovereignty of our country.
Yeah, but you see, a country that is sovereign, a country that is independent, doesn't live in its own bubble. It lives as part of the international community. Now, when you see us facing heavy diplomatic and economic fallouts with our hitherto partners, doesn't it bother you that you are trying to alienate Uganda?
No, the message has been very clear, mutual respect. We have told our friends and our partners in the West that we know you have your values, we also have our values. We're an international community, let's respect each other.
Yeah, but you see, respect for each other does not mean that you pass laws that are not in conformity with internationally recognized human rights. For example, and that's the argument that's been made.
Well, as a member of parliament and the national leaders of our country, our interest is Uganda and it's not the international community and the aspirations of the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda, the people of Uganda, 99% resist homosexuality. It's not right by our holy books, it's not right by science. It's not right by nature.
Well, it seems like many of these things are extremely subjective. Holy books, nature, traditions, all these are heavily subjective. But in an international community, don't we need to have what they call give and take?
Well, if you look at America, the way they treat people regarding the visas, it's something that we don't like, but yet we have got to accept it because that's their country and that's what they want. So we also have things that we hold dear, our values actually. We hold them dear. Our culture, we hold it dear. You know, then they should also respect us. And that has been a simple message.
Talking of the U.S., the Secretary of State, John Kerry, did liken this anti-homosexuality law to the anti-Semitic legislation in Nazi Germany and warned that would damage ties between Kampala and Washington. I mean, from where you stand, was this a proper description of your law, that it's borders on the anti-Jewish laws that were in Nazi Germany?
Well, certainly he was flat out wrong. Everybody knows that in America, 49% of the population actually does not support homosexuality. In Europe, you saw what happened in the parliament in UK. 140 members of parliament resisting it. So the situation they are presenting is a situation of the current administration. It's not a situation of the American people.
But are we saying that Uganda is getting the kind of backlash it's getting from the international community because we are a weak state and they're trying to run roughshod over us? And we say it's arrogance from our development partners.
Certainly it is, and but also the good thing is that we are providing leadership in the country which really needs leadership in terms of moral issues.
Close your eyes and imagine I am Ambassador Lisi, the U.S. ambassador of in Uganda. What would you tell me, given what is going around saying about you and that sponsored bill of yours?
Oh, I beg your pardon?
What? Close your eyes, imagine I was the U.S. ambassador to Uganda. Given the kind of words that he's gone around saying about you and your sponsored bill and how this is going to affect Uganda is U.S. relations, what would you tell him if you sat at very close quarters?
Uganda is a foreign, rather Uganda is a sovereign country, it's an independent country. We secured our independence in 1962. We have every reason to protect it. We have our own values, you have your own values. Respect us, we also respect you.
Respecting you to the extent that now what we used to give to you that is supposed to help the least vulnerable amongst the Ugandan society is going to be held back. How in a country that is hemorrhaging from gross public fund mismanagement, huge corruption, how are you able to meet this deficit and surmount the challenge?
Well, before the president signed the bill, he looked at the figures of what the foreign aid we are getting, and I think as a country we are ready to adjust within our own means, live within our own means. We are actually a blessed country, as the president said at Kororo on Monday.
These are nice, high-sounding statements, but the reality on the ground seems to say something different.
If you look at the oil that we have, if you look at the minerals in our grounds, if we are able to work hard, fight corruption, would be able to finance.
We've been talking about the fight against corruption, zero tolerance corruption for the last 28 years since your NRM government came to power. But there seems to be little effort to reflect the kind of work, the kind of words you splash around with regard to the fight of corruption.
Well, I don't know what you mean, but we have been making progress, and fighting corruption is a responsibility of each and every person, including parents, beginning with parents, going to all these institutions. And where need has come to government to take action, we have taken action. Of course, we are not perfect. We have not reached there, but we are doing our best to make sure that corruption is fought.
David, you also speak for the National Resistance Movement caucus in Parliament, and I wish to take you down to the goings-on within the NRM caucus, going back to that wonderful retreat you had in Chankwanzi for 10 days, that decided, among other things, that one, there should be a sole presidential candidate from the NRM who happens to be President Yoweri Museveni, and any other person nursing ambitions to that effect must be dealt with decisively. And we've seen the first casualties falling by the wayside. Your Secretary General, Honorable Amambabazi, who happens to be the Prime Minister and leader of government business in the House where you sit, is one of those. Can you just briefly take us through what's going on within the NRM? A lot of political commentators are now saying, well, here we are. They have now reached their point of no return.
Well, as you said, I'm the vice chairperson of the NRM Parliamentary Caucus, and at Chankwanzi we made really some substantial, very important resolutions to our country. As a caucus, we had a lot of information going around within our party and about our party chairperson, and we agreed that we recommend to other different
that is known to us, but then we see that members of parliament from the NRM caucus have in fact been given a lot of money recently to go around the country to sell this idea of a sole presidential candidate. And yes, I must apologize, you earlier referred to you as the spokesperson of the NRM caucus, but now I get information that you are the vice chairperson of this caucus. My apologies.
Yes, but the issue of money, I think you don't have the facts right.
Tell us.
We have not been given money, but I think the most important thing are the resolution we made at Chankwanzi.
What about reports that money has exchanged hands, especially the women members of your caucus have been given some money to go around, and they started from the women's celebrations. Are all these preposterous reports?
No, Simon, you asked me about the resolutions of Chankwanzi. We had wonderful resolutions. One was about the leadership. The other one was about the government office accommodation. We did wonderful resolutions about agriculture, about our economy, and moving forward as members of parliament will be going down to explain those resolutions and why we made those resolutions. We also, it's important to note that we are midway the term of office and we want to go back to explain to the people of Uganda about service delivery. How far have we gone? Listen to them and get views on how best we can improve.
Halfway the time, we also see some agitators on the opposite side of the political divide looking at the NRM as the driver, for the most part, of the mooted electoral reforms. That discussion doesn't seem to be coming out very strongly in the discussions you have as the NRM. Shouldn't that bother you that the NRM is not worried about effecting electoral reforms, which in essence could in fact buttress your hold on to power?
Well, we are waiting for the reforms as members of parliament. If they come, we'll debate them. But what bothers us most now is the promises we made in 2011. The promises to fix the education system, the quality of education system. The promises we made to fix the infrastructure of Uganda, you know, to improve the household incomes. And that's what we are concentrating on. That's why actually,
that's why 0 is having done nothing to promise, and 10 is is full achievement. Where are you midterm?
70%.
Really?
We are moving on, because if you look at the infrastructure that we have put across, if you look at the quality of education, how we are improving the household income, the way we're investing in agriculture, I think we're making some progress, but we are still there. We need to improve.
That's why some progress without a doubt. But aren't you over generous with awarding yourself points to about the rank of 7? Possibly you are wallowing somewhere in 4. Have you already?
That's self-assessment, but also other people can assess us. But I think what's important, Simon, here to note is that's why we made a resolution in Chankwanzi in the context of party cohesion, that we are midway the term. We cannot go to politics at this time when actually Ugandans asking us, what did you promise, what have you done?
But away from that, it seems to be now a crime for anyone to moot presidential ambitions. We are seeing Honorable Mama Mbabazi, being run roughshod over. We see people who support him within the NRM party facing jail time. We're seeing a lot of, ping-pong accusations, counter-accusations coming in from different quarters. What exactly is happening to the party that once taunted the whole ideal of internal democratic contestation?
Actually, what is happening within the party is not what is in the public, and I want to tell you and tell Ugandans.
Don't tell me it's worse within the party. Because then it will be more reason
within the party. It's a different picture.
Tell us.
We have quarrels in the party, and we resolve them internally. But in the party, we are concentrating on service delivery, and we are saying, wait. If you have any ambitions, let's wait for the right time. Yes.
But what could be the right time? Who sets the right time? I thought every day is a moment to add a brick onto someone's political career and ambition if they have any.
Come on, you cannot midway start talking about politics when the people of Uganda are waiting for service delivery.
Maybe you're already disappointed by the way things are going midway, and therefore you need to start preparing people's minds for a transition to go from worse to better.
Our constitution has laid down rules on how you can compete. Which constitution?
The NRM constitution.
The NRM constitution, on how you can compete for any position in the party at the right time. And the right time is not now. Now is the time to deliver on the promises we made to the people of Uganda. Fix the infrastructure, fix the quality of education, fix the health sector. Those are things that are preoccupying us as a party now. And you will see a number of members of parliament.
How are you able to meet all these demands that the public really wants from you? Because you, in your manifesto, say that the following, for Uganda to develop, you had a three-legged stool. On one hand held by energy, the other hand held by infrastructure development, and the other hand being agribusiness and agriculture. We are seeing parliament going inside to dismantle one of the major legs of the three-legged stool, which is development. And you were looking at kicking out players in the energy sector, for example, without giving alternative. Isn't that in itself self-defeating?
Well, I think, I don't know what you're referring to.
We're referring to all these debates have been going on, and very specifically last week when you were running roughshod to cancel contracts of energy distribution companies, energy generating companies, yet at the same time you claim that energy is one of those huge drivers that will lead Uganda to the first world that you intend it to be.
I think the debate that was in the House last week was about the management of the electricity. I think members of parliament have views on how this should be done. The issue was not about investment in infrastructure. We're investing in Karuma, we're investing in other dams.
That is infrastructure.
Yes, the issue is about management. Should we have a foreign company managing our infrastructure?
Well, what isn't foreign that is managing things? You have a Ugandan company.
No, I'm not actually finished. The issue is not foreign. The issue is the performance of a company that has come. And I think members of parliament had questions to do with performance of the management of the electricity, and made some recommendation to government. It's up to government to decide whether that's right or not, and then we'll take it from there.
David, when you
the important thing is investment in infrastructure, because if we don't invest in infrastructure, even this company, Umeme or ESCO, will not have what to manage.
Well, there we are. If you wake up in the morning, when you wake up in the morning and see pictures in the newspapers depicting members of parliament using their prized iPads playing solitaire in a committee sitting, does it bother you that sometimes your colleagues have their priorities wrong? Or are you going to argue here that the man was simply relieving some stress?
Well, I don't know what my brother, Honorable Habibu Katoto was doing in the committee, and at what stage, because you see, we are just getting a picture. We don't know at what stage. Was it a break time? Was it? So we need to investigate further, but we'll have a chat with him and see what he was
like I said earlier on, at least it is heartening to learn that at least he knows how to operate this iPad and he's able to at least play.
But you guys, why are you poaching into his privacy?
Well, it's the privacy. He was in a public place. He was in a committee sitting of parliament where there is a lot of access given to journalists.
Where all these things happen when it comes to technology, a number of things happen. But I think what's important, Habib is a wonderful member of parliament who's making a contribution to not only to his people but to the country.
Well, look me in the face and reassure Ugandans that parliament actually means good for Ugandans, and we are not in there for pecuniary and for the most part selfish reasons. Because we just see reports coming in, especially yesterday's newspapers, that you members of parliament are mooting an idea to increase your salaries. You're already highly paid for not so much you're doing, and now you want to be paid even more. I mean, how selfish can a group of people be?
Well, we are not aware about that. We are not aware about increasement.
Kindly take my information. I am now informing you that some of your colleagues, and do not play naive here, are mooting the idea to have their pay increased. Doesn't it bother you that we are looking at matters of welfare to an already overbloated group of people, as opposed to actual service delivery for which you were elected to do?
I think members of the public should judge us against the laws of member of parliament. One, we have budget allocation, budget appropriation. Have we been doing this or not? We are making laws. Are we making progress on making laws or not? We are supposed to do an oversight role. Are we doing an oversight role to the executive, and I think we are doing an oversight role to executive. Yeah, so we should also balance the role of a member of parliament vis-a-vis the facilitation.
Well, David, like someone once joked to us, and in this joke he asked his member of parliament why he wasn't being seen deliberating on the floor of parliament. And this member of parliament turned to his constituent and said, "Excuse me, are you aware that in parliament we are paid a sitting allowance? What do you see me doing for the most part? I am sitting, and therefore I'm earning my bread."
That's Simon.
Well, that's it. Let's take a short break. When we return, as Simon says. Well, we have heard it, and the argument has always been made that if you must make an omelette, you must break a couple of eggs. For Uganda to safeguard the integrity and sanctity of the traditional heterosexual family, some kind of law or legislation had been put in place to safeguard this wonderful desire. Honorable Bahati seems in every inch unapologetic, is unfazed whatsoever of the ramifications of this anti-homosexuality law that was put in place, sponsored by him as a private member's bill. Does that tell you something about the kind of courage that our political or body politic must take? That many times they need to make moves pro-Uganda against all odds and be able to stand firm without unwavering. We understand and appreciate that we live in an international community, but sometimes we have got to be very selfish in our interests, because after all, there is no member of the international community that's out doing charity. They are all out to meet their own selfish needs. And we cannot afford as a country to sit back and let others actuate their selfish needs while we relegate our own selfish needs to the back burner. If we do that, we'll be inviting ourselves to be recolonized. I think we had enough of that in the past, and it's a time to move on. That's Simon Says this morning, and it's the big story wrapping it up. Have a wonderful morning wherever you go on this wonderful Thursday morning. Ensure that you do something that will make you a much better person, and in effect make Uganda a better place, as opposed to previously when we thought that development partners came in to help us solve our problems. I think it's high time we realize that we are out to sort out our own problems, because nobody seems to care about us more than we should care about ourselves. Have a good morning.
The task that we had ahead of us was to transform Kampala, take it from where it had fallen for so many years, and create a city that we can all be proud of. Right now, we are in the process of recruiting an international company to manage our solid waste right from production up to recycling and generation of power and recycling the garbage into other products. We are finishing the construction of Lubiji Channel, which is addressing the flooding in Bwaise.
We have been able to construct a sewer line along Kafumbe-Mukasa Road. This sewer line has been very problematic and was preventing the rehabilitation of Kafumbe-Mukasa Road because it was always oozing sewage and it lies almost in the middle of the road. This road is expected to be handed over in March this year.
Brother, I no go stop to the singing.
No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon.
You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of money. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble.
Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me.
Do you know how long I've been waking up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I'd like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal His people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating, and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how to get no I
went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombi ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokeza ng'azeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokeza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
What were you trying to give Valentina? Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? Do you think that I'm stupid or what?
Oh, get out of here! Oh, get out of here! You're already dead!
What's wrong, Costanza? Do her screams upset you?
You're not here.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
4 minutes after 8, thank you so much for joining us, and we're still here at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. And before the break, we had the architect of the anti-homosexuality bill, but also MP for Ndora West, Honorable Fred Bahati, is also the vice chairperson of the Inner Parliamentary Caucus, and he was chatting with us on the implication of aid cuts by the donors. And of course, a couple of things that he noted during this interview. He's saying, and I quote, the most important thing at Chankwazi was not the money that were given, but the resolutions that we made for Uganda. The promises we made as MPs to our electorate is our top priority, and that's why the Chankwazi meeting was held. And he goes on to say, now is the time to deliver on the promises that we made in 2011. And your comments, of course, we had lots of feedback on this, and just sampling that Gareth Brian Malinga saying, not all American states accept homos. Why should we? Because we're a third world country. We got independence in 1962. All right. And when MPs meet the man who matters, that money will be found. So says Mr. 2016. And that is Masake Anthony, who is reacting to the comment we made about MPs getting money. All right. And Jacob 47X saying, aid is the blood of international policy. Don't think of aid in terms of money only. Aid is far much beyond money. And at Awesomeness, saying you guys are looking dapper as always. Do you guys sleep because you work too hard? Yes, we'll do anything to make sure that you get the best, of course. And at Maggie Petrelli, also getting your tweet. Most of you also retweeting some of the things that Honorable Bahati has been saying. Remember, our handle on Twitter is @morning@NTV. And let's cross over to Mabel, who is standing by with your comments on Facebook. Good morning, Mabel.
Happy birthday to you,
It's often been said that your attitude determines your altitude. Now, to those of you celebrating birthdays today, we hope you have a better attitude of your life in order for you to soar and reach greater heights. Today, we say happy birthday to Jamal Kingori, who is an IT support technician at Nazarene Africa University, as well as Harriet Banji, who was a student at Katikamu SDA. Happy birthday to you all, and we wish you many, many, many more happy returns. On to Facebook now, we have a picture of Simon and David Bahati, whom he interviewed on The Big Story, and your comments coming in fast and furious. Geoffrey Odong says, I disagree with that bill. Instead of discussing virtues, the government is wasting time on non-issues. People are dying, low level of education, poor health conditions. Stop blindfolding people. NRM. Boaz Mwine says, our man Mr. Bahati Bakongeze Chisanja, the people of Ndora West, for the work you're doing in NRM in Parliament. Ronnie Bugembe says, homosexuality is so bad and evil, but it's not the biggest issue to put Uganda on a standstill. There are more important issues to discuss. Hilo Heaven says, funny view of the picture, as if the minister... as if the minister is yeah, he looks much shorter than I actually hadn't noticed that picture. Picture here of Brian with the Morning at NTV mug. For those of you who answer the question, this mug is available to you. And some of your messages here, most of you trying to answer the question. We have Alema Godwill saying, great show. Baba Muwezi saying, Brian is smart, and most of you answering the question. Fred Wakida says, I have woken up to yet another chilly day, awaiting your insightful discussions and interviews. Thanks for training us on the basics of everyday life. And yesterday we did learn how to wash our hands properly. Junior James is in Fort Portal, and he says it's a bit cool there. We have Priscilla saying, guys, I really like your show. It is so encouraging. Charles says, Uganda as a country should remain respecting the bill regardless of Western world pressure. They know the degree of poorness, thus their help will come. After all, the aid is still coming. I'm not too sure, since some countries have said they are going to pull out. And Geoffrey says, I think that homosexuality is not something which is forceful. Why don't Ugandans have their rights? I personally disagree with that bill. And we have Ramsey Peter here saying he's thanking NTV for the great show. If you haven't yet liked our page, please do. We are at about 11,000 counting likes. We now move on to Brian for today's HTC moment.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. Reaching out to our partners and setting no limits on innovation, we produced one of the most popular touch experience devices of the time. We were building smartphones before the term smartphone even existed. We then set out to make the most versatile smartphones, including ones that let you use either a touchscreen or a keyboard. We saw the potential of 3G early on and introduced the world's first 3G Windows mobile smartphone. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy to use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to. we once more revolutionized the industry by launching the world's first 4G Android smartphone. We integrated Beats audio into our phones to deliver the most authentic sound experience, enabling people to finally feel the music the way the artist intended. We created a one-of-a-kind phone with an amazing camera that outperforms most point-and-shoot varieties. Most recently, we once again set the industry ablaze with the new HTC One. Critics have hailed the new One with its full metal body design, a live home screen, photos that come to life, and dual frontal speakers as the best Android phone of the year. Curiosity and ingenuity have defined our history, and we're recognized by the industry as one of the world's most innovative brands. We've come a long way, but one thing hasn't changed. It's people like you that inspire us to create the most innovative products in a world that becomes more connected every day.
A very good morning to you. 12 after 8, and this is Everyday Life, one of the most awesome segments on this show where we talk about issues that concern us day to day. And Thursday we look at family and relationships. A very good topic coming up in a couple of minutes with a very eminent guest also, so I'll ask you to definitely strap your seatbelts. But an update on HTC. Head over to HTC Hub at Forest Mall and grab any of the models. The HTC One Max, which I hold. Very brilliant phone, I'm telling you. Awesome. I told you about the blink feed yesterday. I got another feature. I'm still trying to understand it, so I'll explain to you when I know, I am sure about what I'm talking about. But there are also other models like the HTC Desire 500, 600, the HTC One Gold, and of course those of you who have the previous HTC, we are no longer making those. Zagwayo, tetuchazikola. So you're probably getting them, maybe you're getting them from China. They are not available anymore. But we have the latest. Head over at Forest Mall and you can get one. We'll be giving out phones next week. We drew last week, and the winners will come, get their phones, and we'll get another set of questions that you can answer and qualify to own an HTC today. The one I hold is about 2.5 million shillings, but there are cheaper phones that are about 700, 400,000, 500. All you have to do is go there and check them out. Coming up is Everyday Life.
It's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. It stresses you out. It calms you down. It helps you remember. It helps you forget. It keeps you connected. It's the only thing you own that is always within an arm's reach. Which is why you don't need to get a phone. You need a phone that gets you. And you. And you. And we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Now, majority of parents have a tendency to want their kids to have very good friends. Very good friends, but not best friends. And people you feel are having a positive influence on your children, you know, they're the kind of people you want to associate the children with. And research shows that kids who grow up in unfortunate situations have a higher chance of becoming, you know, troublesome as teens. But it starts from, you know, when they're still young. Who do they associate with? This morning I'm joined by Dr. Monica Etima Chizito. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know your husband more than, you know, but thank you so much for joining us today. Apart from, you know, parenting, you're also a pediatrician. How's that going for you?
It's very enjoyable because I love children and I want to make for them a difference. I don't like seeing them sick, so that's why I joined that profession and specialized in pediatrics.
Right. All right. You have written a book
called parenting this generation, and we'll get into that later. But the issue of helping our children get the right friends is important. I remember growing up, my mother would ask me, who is that? Where are they? And she would sometimes even force me to go to the person's home and revisit. And that used to nag me a lot. But question number one, why is it hard for us as children to figure out the right people for us, the right friends for us?
Yeah, children, are just a human being, but the thing is they lack experience. So they need help. They need from the early years of their life, they need parents to give them some values that can help them make choose between right and wrong. Choose between who is a good friend, who is a bad friend. And this starts as early, the early 5 years. That's the formative years where you can really instill some values. For them they are like sponges.
They absorb everything. So it may be
difficult for them. This friend is leading me to this direction, especially in those early years. And people are from all backgrounds, all environments, and they come together in class. So that's the first exposure, and this exposure is for 8 hours every day, almost a lot of time. So they keep consuming from their friends, and at that age they may not know what is right and wrong. So if home is not instilling some values, then it becomes a challenge.
I must believe that around 10 years, a child can figure out that this boy is bad for me, this girl is bad for me. I don't like him, he bullies me, he fights, he's a bad character.
Yes, by 10 they should. And that's why parents should work on it much earlier. So by 10 they can tell, but sometimes you know how some of these friends come. They are so cunning and you may not know what are they up to.
So I feel as a parent, it's
an ongoing, like educating, reminding them. These children tend to bond a lot to their friends. Because they're looking for acceptance, they're looking for people who value them, they're looking for people who they're looking for an identity. And most times they don't get it with the adults, and at home they're not really getting it. So friends who appreciate them, they want to move with them.
So that's what is driving
them there. As a parent, if you've done your work well, it's very easy for them to choose who is a good friend and who is a bad friend. I've seen it in my own children. They're able to tell me, this one was doing this, and then we discuss.
Right. Yeah. The teenagers are obviously very difficult to manage. And at that point, a child can decide who they want their friends. Even if they grow up in a very religious family, you find a child being friends with a guy that smokes weed. What goes wrong there?
For me, I would say for friends, you can be a friend of anybody, but what matters is what you do with that friend. So once you sense this person is going to lead you to some consequences, because if you start chewing weed, the outcome may be expulsion. And then after that, it's looking for schools, and it varies. So some parents will automatically get certain schools, and then some have to take you deep to the village. So the consequences are different. So that's what, for me as a person, I keep telling the youth that matters are your friends. Weigh what will be the outcome of our behavior together. And the question usually is, what do you do together in your free time with your friends?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things.
Guiding them, what do you do? Because you find these friends do so many things. And then it is, yes, some are good and some are bad, and then the choice is yours. Those are choices even a parent can't make for you, because we are not with them all the time. They are on their own. So for you, you do your part and then let them go, and they should be ready for the consequences.
Where do parents cross the line? I've told you, my parents would tell me, let's go to their home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, don't kill my swag, for lack of a better word. You're going to make my friends think I'm very fake.
Yeah.
How does that?
Yeah, sometimes parents need to learn to trust. If you've done your part well, let them be and learn to trust them. Because the biggest thing is parents take long to trust. and they keep cross-checking and cross-checking and cross-checking. So that irritates the child so much, and it's like you're entering into their life too much. Yes, I think there should be a limit where you can trust and let them know it is their life. Many times I tell my own that I've already done exams, finished, for you it is yours. So if you play, you will pay later. So that element of trust, and trust is earned. It takes time. So you even as a child, you need to prove that you can be trusted. So if you can be trusted, if at home they tell you there is a boundary, everyone must be in by 7 p.m. You walk in at 11. You've already broken that trust. So such a parent will not know how to trust you. Or it's just something as small as balance. I've given you some money, I expect you to return the balance. And then you don't. And already you're like, is this person trustworthy? So it's small things that make this parent know, yeah, this is a very responsible child. I don't need to worry. But it doesn't, I mean, it's good to check, but not to over, because it leads them to again do so many things behind their parents' back.
This research really is mind-boggling, that kids that grow up in unfortunate homes have a higher chance of trouble as a teen.
Yeah, there are many.
How true is that?
There are many factors that affect this child's growth. Environment is a key one. The parents, the genetics. They say that what a child is determined by the 4 grandparents and then the 2 parents.
The 4 grandparents.
Yes, that is parents on each side, mother, father, and then the 2 parents. That also has an influence.
Right.
So you find there are many factors, and environment is very, very key. Because like children who grow from the slums may have certain behaviors, and it's because of where they grew up from. While children who grow in these high centers also have their certain behaviors. But what I've seen is sometimes as they grow, where they go, maybe for secondary, that exposure can even straighten some of the things. Where they are exposed, how they are exposed to some of these things can make them come out of it. So most of us, maybe we didn't grow up from we came from deep villages, and still we've reformed as adults. So there's chance that you can be corrected, turn off it, and come out as a good person. And sometimes there's that word resilience. That sometimes the bad environment makes you now work hard, become strong, and say, I want to be determined not to be the same as where we came from, where we grew up from. So that resilience has also a positive aspect. Yes, but of course the mannerisms sometimes go on and on.
Right. Well, if you're parents, this is definitely for you. Sometimes choosing friends for your children may be difficult. How about you help them get the right friends this morning with Dr. Monica Kizito, who is a pediatrician at Malago, but also passionate about children, and she has written a book, Parenting This Generation, A Guide to Becoming a Great Parent. This is your first book?
Yes.
So this had to come up.
It was, but because of handling youth and children, many times they would say, please talk to our parents, please talk to our parents. So I said, how can we get parents in a classroom? No. The easier way may be to write something for them, because we are all learning in this. One thing is, we parents at this time are like a caught generation, because the children are in their world which is different from ours, and sometimes we don't even click their language. They are with you, they are discussing something, and sometimes it may be even about you, but because of their terminologies, you are lost, and you are not. Yeah.
This is the
so that's the head parents.
Well, how about, you can send in your questions or comments on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. You can also tweet it at Morning at NTV. The SMS platform is open. Send it to 6565. The child is set. It's a point where they start understanding this guy is good, this girl is good. What constitutes a good friend for your child?
For my child, I would look at some values. One key thing is the language. What language do they use? there are some words which I know for us we wouldn't use at our home. So when I hear it from my child, I ask, where are you getting this word from? Who do you talk with? So the language being very abusive. You know, sometimes it's just maybe you knock somebody accidentally, but you know some of the words which will follow. Already, it's an accident, and somebody maybe I said sorry, but for you, you have to unleash. So that sometimes it is your hobby. What you do? The issue of TV, you know, there's a lot they consume, and it's one way sometimes. So I just tell them, limit your time, exposure to that, because they're getting values from the TV itself. So the aspect of the spiritual part, I get prayerful. Then when you come to here,
how old that doctor?
Yes.
Wouldn't you be branded Kajanja?
No, and the way I do it is in the natural way, like when you're coming back from school. You know, there's a lot that when you're coming back from school, we are discussing, how was your day doing, what happened. So if you are free with you, they tell you so many things, and it's through that you pick. It's not that now, what did you do, what told you, it's not that you're trying to find fault. But it's let them tell the story, and then you're able to say, hey, okay, yeah, that one was that good, watch out, that friend keep a distance.
As a parent, how can you best monitor your child's friends without seeming too much in their space and not letting them choose freely who they want to interact with?
One of the things is like holiday time, I can at least make sure I meet them during holiday. So you perform with your friends, we have a chat, we what, and that alone, you know, there's a lot you can pick from the dress code of the friends. So the way you're interacting, the things they have, whether it's just a video game or whatever, it can communicate a lot. So you look out for those non-verbal things that you can pick from this side. And then from there, sometimes we say, just a table, the good things and the bad things. Especially, not trying to make this child say this one is bad, but trying to make them see the things they do as bad and be able to avoid that. Yes.
Well, just looking at some of your comments this morning on our Facebook page. Give me 1 second. Alright, somehow it's taking a toilet. But before we let you go, tell me about this book. And I know I see some great pictures in there. Parenting as a God-given, role. This is brilliant stuff. Parenting styles, essentials of parenting, a child's social development. What's in here?
There's a lot. I just said that is maybe the basics for a parent. You know, sometimes somebody says, in time ourselves having children, we are not prepared. And then you don't know how it's like you're thrown in an ocean and you have to swim. So this is the basic guide to help parents. And those are some of the key things they struggle with. Sex, how do I talk about sex to my children? How do I do the spiritual development of my child? So those are basics I've given them there. And there's still there's a lot of literature about it.
We definitely bring you back and you talk about that spiritual development, how you help a child. Because most of us were raised in Catholic families or Protestant or Muslim families. When we grow up, we're kind of confused, we're trying to find a balance. Or some of us are taken to schools where there's only one religion, and then you may not agree with everything, but the school also performs well, so you're confused. And how you as a parent can help, guide your child as far as spirituality is concerned. Dr. Monica, this morning with us, the pediatrician at Lagos Hospital, look out for her book, Parenting This Generation, Guide to Becoming a Great Parent. Where can we get it?
Christ-Taking Bookshop, the Mokono Bookshop.
Alright. Yes. Okay, my director telling me that this is hard copy, but I'm going to get this autograph and I will keep it for myself. And in a couple of minutes, it's now we're looking at sport, but Chelsea, Mourinho finally eating his words. What does this mean for him looking into the return leg? He called the defending ridiculous, and now they're in a 2-goal hole. I think Chelsea have a lot of work to do. Beaten 3-1 last night at PSG, they're in a bit of trouble. But we'll also talk about Real Madrid, who I think will be the first team to qualify for the semi-finals. Barcelona will serve a transfer ban, while the Nile Congress with a dominant might Istanbul in Ginger has changed the name. I'll tell you why when we get back. Well, stay with us this morning, and I will be giving you Dr. Monica's contact also about the book, and especially when it comes to the pediatric work. These are doctors, I think they are allowed that, but they're not like lawyers. But you can go to Malawi and it's child or something. I'll stay with us, we'll be right back. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by
We are HTC. Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect. How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act outside of yourself? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
50 people, 50 days, one task.
An incredible journey of 10,000 kilometers to deliver a taste of home to Humphrey Kange in London.
A journey you can be part of. Looking for 25 people to say 20 kasi and join the Task 25 on this.
Join me!
Join me! Join me!
Join me!
Join me! Join us and be a part of Africa's most epic TV show.
Beautiful girls all little love, and we guarantee that each of them will go out on a date. But to this workout, only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and the Bachelor has to be seen by all the ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love is hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rules. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must-watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anita Fabiola, and I'll be your host.
To find a good date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date, dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat.
Ekimu sawa musu. Nekyali kiweka abamanye. Bakiraza muwa. Tugenda kukajolyolerera naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo era mwolera ebyobufuzi ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nyingi ebyokebwa tebiyita tuuse eddoboozi lyo yogera naffe buli lwakuna otereevu ku NTV yakawungeezi.
running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of
We know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we review Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience change with Orange. Today, change with Orange.
So Saturday 23 on to 9 o'clock and still again with the usual suspects. This is my programming classic show this morning, yeah? Someone get us a close up here. So what's this one called? Good morning. We've been talking about washing hands and I'm glad you're welcome. And somehow yesterday when I visited, the common room, I call it the common room, I ended up just doing exactly what Chris had said, and it's now become a habit. I'm really continuing and see if it happens. I hope it becomes part of it. I hope it becomes culture. Yeah. I hope it becomes part of that. I wonder how many of us eat it and create. I went to the toilet and saw the guy just wetting his hands. I was almost telling him, boss, you need to wash your hands the right way. But toilets are not equipped with soap and water. I get the board that comes to do my thing. Alright, talking forward now. Finally, we go to every register, we know that. But this time we go there with numerous challenges as far as God is concerned. What are the challenges? First of all, the economics is changing name. I wonder whether we're saying it's kind of appeal because it did the life and involved I've actually come and I know by Good Friday only happened in Jinja, and now it's become the only school name, 709. I think the name is really cool, and everything is about getting trendy, because the majority of people living there are youth, especially in the age of 18 and 35. So the 7th of the night comes with many changes. First of all, it used to be a one-day tournament that would go there on Good Friday in the morning and enjoy the day and never come back in the evening. Those who can still drive and get back in the evening. The rest would say, now it's 2 days, so you don't have to come back every day. Now, they've also included the school tournament. Previously, there was a school tournament where they allow the schools in Jinja for their competition to rugby, have their own tournament on that day, on the first day. And then, they've also made it more competitive. Previously, I would just a team and sign up. I say, I call Brian, I call Ismail, I call Charles, and say, let's have a team and go to Jinja and play and register. Now that has been taken out of the equation. You cannot have that kind of team anymore because they have invited the club to play. You don't have to register and have Brian race against Justin Kimono. There's only one winner in that kind of race. So they've called on the club to play and they invited the club because it's going to be a lot of prize money, over 3 million shillings. And that means the Cove, the Hidden, the Pirates, the Rhinos, those are the kind of teams playing there. In addition to a team from Kenya, a team from Tanzania, a team from Rwanda. So they made it more competitive. For me,
While I could understand from the people who run the Jaraga Football Club what they're trying to do to make the tournament probably more serious than it's ever been for the years it's been around. I'm also I'm not the kind of person who backs taking away the fan appeal. We watch enough competitive rugby, and personally I prefer more competitive rugby where I could go and sit there and sound like a technical analyst and say, if that proper not done this back would do this, that fullback was running the wrong way, those kind of things. Now for the many of you, for me, I'm not the fan, because I don't need to be invited, I'll be there. After the fan goes there, the fan element when you see someone stumble onto the pitch, that's the thing that fans would love to see, someone they can relate with. But when you see, for example, Michael, thinking he's a macho man, what he does is out of this world. But when you see someone you know like Brian run onto the pitch, you can relate with it. So I think I've taken either fan appeal, but probably making it more competitive is good for the club. Too much, I think so. Yeah, there's been 16, and that means that most of the time they played, and had the final come on as it gets dark, way after 7 p.m. So it's played in half light, half darkness. Now they are swimming in this club, so they'll be able to manage the tournament a bit better, and that is then when the sun is still out. So should be a good one. I'll definitely Rwanda, the team from Rwanda, their Kenyan teams coming here, they've never been coming for the rugby. They've normally done well. And probably the long-term target is to invite more teams beyond just the borders. They could get a team from North Africa, Morocco, and Tunisia especially. In the years going forward, then they'll be better for it.
Okay, well, now you've really piqued my interest in the ICC 2020, and the semi-finals are here. Sri Lanka versus West Indies, which you said is very unpredictable. I'm wondering if Sri Lanka, that's unpredictable. So, whom do you think will win?
You started right at the top. First of all, I would love to go for West Indies. They are quite a fan base in Uganda, and I don't want my friends to discount me for not saying West Indies will win this one. But West Indies is really a slow starters in tournaments, but when they get going, they are quite a tough outfit to beat. And even in this tournament, they started very slowly. This scored 130 against India in the opening game. But ever since then, the scores have gone up. You can see a West Indies team that could go on and win the tournament. And also, they are the defending champions. And everyone would love to see them in the final. West Indies cricket has suffered from the years when they were the top side of the top dogs in world cricket. Back in 1975, they won the World Cup in England, and then in 1979. At some point, they went several years without losing in Test cricket through the 70s and 80s. They've never been the same team since. But this is a format that favors them. The way they play will favor West Indies. There's a lot of reckless abandon in the way they bat. So I've got to say West Indies will be slight favorites, even if his wicket will be turned. And Sri Lankan spinner, Richard Rangana Herat, who was still like that game in the last one when he beat up on New Zealand, bowling New Zealand out for 60 when he picked 5 wickets for only 3 runs. That is the kind of challenge of West Indies. The West Indies will face, but we know in the last game West Indies encountered the challenge of Pakistan and got past it. So why not? But Sri Lanka are one of those tournament teams. They do play well in every tournament. They get to finals, they get to semi-finals. They're regulars in this kind of sense. And this should be a repeat of the last time West Indies won the 2020. Sri Lanka is the team they beat in the final. So I'll build back West Indies for me to go through. Right. Well, last night I was part of the game. I enjoyed the Real Madrid-Dortmund game. But, I was really disappointed last night. And I was gunning, for the first time I was gunning for Mourinho. Did he do well? He's called the defending ridiculous, what he saw. One of the interesting things that one of his defenders, Gary Cahill, went to press conference after the game and called the defending sloppy. When Mourinho came in, he said, Cahill said sloppy, I said ridiculous. Just about his back at the player. But I think defense is very, very poor. And I said it here yesterday, one of the things, the only advantage that PSG will have over Chelsea is the kind of firepower they have up front. For example, last night, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was poor and eventually linked up with hamstring problem. Probably won't play in the second leg. But because they have so much quality going forward, Ezekiel Abet to get the goal, and then there's another from Javier Pastore after David Luiz had put into his own net. That's how poor they were defensively. But I thought Chelsea, after they got that one goal back through Eden Hazard, that penalty, I thought they should have seen out the result. At 2-1, they were a lot more comfortable. They would have loved to go out to lead Paris at 2-1. Because if you just score one goal and defend at Stamford Bridge, you're through with one goal to nil. Now what happens is that they go and concede that late goal in injury time to Javier Pastore, and he had no business scoring from that angle. But
when you just stand defending the way they were, then such balls go end up in the back of the net. So I think there'll be a lot of there'll be genuine worry in terms of Chelsea, but they can look at I think about their history, especially in the game. I remember one or 2 years ago under Roberto Di Matteo when they won the Champions back in 2012. They were trailing 3-1 from the first leg in Napoli, and then came back at home and won the game by 3-0. I remember Lampard was on fire that night. They need that kind of performance. Will they get it? I fancy PSG to score. I fancy PSG to score because they have so much quality. For example, last night they were bring on 2 players from the bench who cost, one of them Lucas Moura, cost 32 million pounds. And then you have your Pastore, cost 43 million euros. I'm thinking Arsene Wenger is here in this figure. He's thinking I could open a second club. He's thinking I could open a second club there. But yeah, good job like PSG. I think for me they're going to be a force. But isn't the goal good for Chelsea? It's an away goal. It's a big boost. If they score fast at Stamford Bridge and get the fans going, yes. The only thing I have is that PSG have a lot of quality going forward. They may not be very good defensively. I thought in bits there. Even the penalty that Thiago Silva gave away was for me inexcusable. And Maxwell is not that fast. You look at the other side. Christophe Jali doesn't have a lot going forward. Alex was a bit at sea most of the time. That's why he got booked. But I think Chelsea, if they get that early goal, they will have a chance. For me, can they keep PSG from scoring? If they do that, they could go through. I would fancy PSG now. 55% chance of going through. All right.
Real Madrid yesterday?
They are through. I've got to say after the first leg. Yeah, they 3-0. Cristiano Ronaldo is 100th game in the Champions League, scoring for the 14th time in 8 games this season. That means he's only stretching the record for most goals in the Champions League season. That was a fantastic performance by Real Madrid. Even if they had a bit of worry in the second half, where then the Ike Casillas come to their rescue because Borussia Dortmund got back into it. But I think Madrid will be confident. Those goals from Gareth Bale and Cristiano Ronaldo should have probably given enough that cushion of 3-0. You don't think Madrid could go to Germany and lose by 3 goals, not to this Dortmund. Probably to the Dortmund of 2-3 years ago they could, because that Dortmund was really good. This was a Dortmund side that didn't have Neven Subotic, didn't have Marcel Schmelzer, didn't have Ike Gundogan, Steven Bender, Robert Lewandowski, Jakub Blaszczykowski. So they are missing so many players. Those are the kind of things that are going to cost Dortmund quite a bit, and they are not a squad with so many players. So I think Real Madrid, for me, became the first team to qualify. I fancy them to win in Germany, and probably the aggregate, probably 5-1, 6-1 on aggregate. For me, Real Madrid have just done enough to qualify for the semi-finals.
I'm, for me, I definitely love the stunning goal from PSG last night. Definition of quality, I guess. Yeah. One touch right away. I don't know what the keeper was doing, but it was
the first one from Ezekiel Latte.
Brilliant goal there. Now, of course, I've always known the super giants in every league are always, they're always influential. Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United. They're always huge in decision making. AC Milan. But Barcelona now with a ban on transfers. What happened?
And Barcelona is beating that kind of hole. This year has been, for me, horrible for Barcelona. The football on the pitch may not represent that. But, their president resigned Sandro Rosell earlier this year over the transfer of Neymar, where they falsified and tried to evade taxes. Eventually, they are sorting that with the Spanish authorities. Right. But now this time, FIFA has banned them for 14 months. They can't sign any player. The reason here being that Barcelona have signed players who are not at the age of consent, because you cannot sign players under 18. And I don't think Barcelona are the only victims of this, because I know many clubs across Europe do it. People are not citing the names of the players.
They sign them because they see a lot of potential in them and don't want anyone to steal them.
Exactly. They sign these players before they turn 18. And that is wrong under the guidelines of FIFA. Players can't turn professional until they're 18. And probably if this rule was there, there would be no Messi. Messi was signed at 13 by Barcelona. So they've done this and this time they're going to get a ban of 14 months. I think in the immediate term, Barcelona is in big trouble. Because there are two players who are leaving the club at the end of the season, Victor Valdez and Carlos Puyol. Very good players at the back. So their defense is going to be a lot depleted. I thought they need a bit of reinforcement there. Now they can't reinforce. That means they don't sign players until June 2015. That is two consecutive. They have appealed the ban, and probably when it goes to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, it
Switzerland, this ban will be reduced. But for me, it opens a whole new picture. I remember the time when Chelsea were banned from signing players after signing Gael Kakuta from a French team with the outside the rules, and he was the player who had actually been tapped. These days I think he's on loan at Lazio. The Chelsea were banned at the time. They appealed and eventually had their case heard, and the ban wasn't as long as it has initially been. But now for Barcelona, if this ban stands, we could see a Barcelona that can't compete for me next season. If this ban does stand, it's horrible, but like I said.
Well, let's see if this will definitely change the way, whether they are the best in the business or not.
Or they are hype La Masia. You know they are famed for having the best academy for footballers. Yeah. The La Masia, can the La Masia replace those players they could have bought?
As fast as
and
I personally think they will. They have amazing quality at the academy and well. Europa League tonight. What are the games to look out for?
I think I'd look out for, I want to see what Benfica will do at TZ Alkmaar. For me, they are one of the favorites. Finally, they lost the game. I remember I used to come here and taunt you about the run. They have now lost unbeaten in 22, unbeaten in 25. They eventually lost the game in the league, I think, to Estoril. But I'll be looking out for what they can do when they travel to Netherlands. The other one has got to be Juventus when they go to Olympique Lyonnais. Olympique Lyonnais, former giants, I think, of the French league. At some point, they won 7 league titles in a row. They are no longer in that kind of, breath as a team that dominates the French league. But they've been playing well, with the exception of losing Saint-Etienne at the weekend by 2-1. I think they'll be very competitive, but I'll still fancy Juventus, who have the luxury of recalling Carlos Tevez. Didn't at the weekend when they lost to Napoli. That's a very bad performance from Juventus. It's got to be, for me, it's got to be Lyon-Juventus will be the highlight. There's a former champion here, Porto against Sevilla. It should be a good game, especially the way Sevilla have been playing. And you remember they beat up on Real Madrid just the other week. But Porto are former European champions, both in the Champions League and then the Europa League. So those will be service fixers. Then Valencia travel to Basel. But my eyes will be on Benfica and Juventus. What can they do? Because I think the title will be between those two, with Porto as the third favorite for the title here.
Okay, another very big game, okay, not game, but title championship, Premier League. Very quickly. Liverpool are sitting pretty, not so pretty, with just, I think, a point separating them. How do you think 24 years of hard will end?
I'll be very economic with the language for all the top four. How do Liverpool win the league? They are trying to win the league by outscoring everyone. I think they've got to defend better and then beat Chelsea and Man City. Chelsea,
they can beat Chelsea.
On the other hand, Chelsea have got to stop dropping points like where they did to Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. And those are the kind of games. They have the best fixture across all the teams in terms of the running. There's only one big team in there. So Chelsea have the best fixtures. For Man City, I've got to think that they have the best squad, but they've got to make sure when they go to Anfield, which is in about 8 days' time, they don't lose. If they lose to Liverpool, they can, for me, forget about the title. Liverpool gives that impetus to go and win the league.
I will still in.
Arsenal. Arsenal still have an outside chance, but that will depend on what they do at Everton on Sunday. If they lose to Everton, they'll be fighting for fourth. If they beat Everton, the belief will be back for the title.
We are believing. We have an overnight tonight for Arsenal fans. We need to pray for this.
Where do you put it? Nambole.
We'll probably feed up that Nambole. Well, you'll be talking more sports at 1:30 p.m. with Ismail, Umansi and Alan. And of course, every Monday, Sports Bar coming to you live from the club. So, Ismail, tomorrow I want us to talk about a little bit, the Athletics Federation, what is going on. There's too much here. Just that I had an opportunity to talk to a guy who has been the equivalent of an MP in that federation, and he had concerning things to talk about. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But before we go, the African proverb. The man may be the head of the home, but the woman is the heart.
Your man
is in the best position to answer that.
I don't know about that proverb, but...
Some people have used the other proverb, that she's the neck that turns the head. Yeah, those are women overturning.
I think there are so many African proverbs that try to elevate the role of a woman in every home. And the role of mothers is is elevated in every kind of sense, and this is just one of those proverbs that does elevate that role. I wonder how real this is, because most men especially, we can get away with doing so many things on our own. It's actually many of the things that we can't do or we can't imagine doing that women do help us with.
Well, I guess this is true. For us men, our focus is go to work, get the money, bring it home. As long as you're providing, the woman will take care of the rest. We expect our wives to take care of the rest.
Okay, well, I could have, probably God was very intelligent about this. When there was Adam, there was no Eve at some point. What was Adam doing? What did he, what could he do that Eve came and helped?
He was working.
But in the Garden of Eden, there was no work. There was everything.
He was busy naming the animals. And when the woman came, helped him with other things. Okay. And so, you know, it's not just even a mere proverb. I think it's also time for men to help out. Because there are so many homes now that are run by women.
Yeah.
And the man has sat back because he thinks the woman is supposed to do everything.
And if she has a job, she comes from work just as tired as you, and still has so much to do in the house.
There are some women who do manage it. There are some women who do manage it. At least I know several. Several.
Well, I guess that's a food for thought for you today. And as you go on with your day, if you're married, maybe you should send an SMS to your wife thanking her for being the heart of the home and helping you out. Might I add viewpoints? You'll thank me tonight. We want to leave you and say have a blessed day, and make sure you're a champion today. Goodbye.
NTV, turning on your world.
You are becoming what you most hate. A cold and ruthless woman like Antonia Guerra.
My mother's alive.
I am not Antonia Guerra. I am not. Here's your... Miss Constanza! Miss Constanza!
You had contempt for me. You canceled me out as a person and as a man, and I should really kill you for that.
Stop, enough.
The task that we had ahead of us was to transform Kampala, take it from where it had fallen for so many years, and create a city that we can all be proud of. Right now, we are in the process of recruiting an international company to manage our solid waste right from production up to recycling and generation of power and recycling the garbage into other products. We are finishing the construction of Lubigi Channel, which is addressing the flooding in Bwaise.
We have been able to construct a sewer line along Kafumbe-Mukasa Road. This sewer line has been very problematic and was preventing the rehabilitation of Kafumbe-Mukasa Road because it was always oozing sewage and it lies almost in the middle of the road. This road is expected to be handed over in March this year.
12 beautiful girls all looking for love, and we guarantee that each one of them will go out on a date. But will it work out? Only time will tell as we follow their magical dating experience on Be My Date. Your personality will matter, and The Bachelor has to be screened by all these ladies. We're going to have fun as we find love on Be My Date. And whoever said finding love was hard, on Be My Date, we will break the rule. Finding love is going to be an interesting experience that you all want to be a part of. Be My Date is a brand new dating show that is a must-watch on the station that turns on your world. My name is Anissa Fabiola and I'll be your host.
To find a date, visit our Facebook page and inbox us your details. Be My Date, dating made easier. Coming soon on NTV.
Can't say